My childhood was pretty different, I guess, from most people. I mean, I had both parents, and there was a lot of depression and anxiety towards my childhood and growing up. A lot of it was kind of swept under the rug, and I didn't really recognize it as depression. I just thought that I was, like growing up. And so as I got older, a lot of those emotions kind of changed and progressed. And around high school is when it kind of peaked, and there were times where you just feel very heavy, and you feel like there's a lot of stuff that you want to talk about, but you don't know how to. And of course, there's like the stigmas of being a male, and it's like you have to be this strong, independent, like superior person. And if you cry or if you express yourself, then you're kind of deemed unworthy in terms of like the spectrum of who it is to be a man. And then, of course, like I didn't have a big father figure growing up, so I feel like a lot of challenges came from how I was feeling, and then how I couldn't talk about it because I didn't have a father figure that was super active. So of course after that I joined the Marine Corps, and those emotions kind of escalated, and I feel like the more time that I spent with myself and not communicating about how I felt, the worse it got. 2017 was the year where I wanted to commit suicide because of it all, and that was primarily because I let my emotions dictate my life. I let them control the choices that I made, and kind of my overall thought process. And so I think that the big problem that people experience is they're too scared to talk about it. They're too scared to talk about the hard stuff, and they're scared of rejection. They're scared of people's opinions and the influences in their life, kind of like the sphere of influence that they have. And I think that and just kind of starting a process, I feel like as an individual, if you start the process of communicating, then it changes from there. But if you never start it, then you don't go anywhere. And I feel like for my whole childhood up until I was close to a teenager, it's like I didn't talk about anything. So the process of starting was much later in life. Like I was in my 20s, and so there was a lot of backtracking with it. But I think it comes back to parenting too. Is like if you start talking to your kids about the serious stuff when they're younger, they don't have to go back and relive all of that stuff. Like it's all been processed, it's all been thought about, and they have different perspectives that they can see it through. But yeah, as like a 20-something-year-old in the military, it's like, man, I have to go back and basically like relive my entire life and see how depressed I was, see how anxious I was, and see how a lot of sadness kind of prevented me from living the life I wanted to. But that's a lot of stuff that you can't anticipate. So I think it all started changing once I changed my environment. And then so there's kind of two things that are really important for it. One is changing your environment, and two is changing your mental process, like your thinking process, and how you as an individual with your life experiences handle things. So for example, I lost my dad when I was 17. I guess I was young, but I didn't have a process or a way to express how I was feeling or what I was going through. Like there was no way to kind of go from start to finish, right? And so now that I'm older, if I lose someone or if something extremely difficult happens, it's like, okay, this is a really bad experience that I'm going through. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge the fact that I can't change it. But how I think about it and what I use it towards is really what changes everything. And so now as an adult, as like a 26-year-old person, I kind of go through a sequence of sequence of thoughts that kind of lead me to this end state. So it's like, what am I going through? Can I change it? Can I make it better? And what can I use it for? And then once you kind of go through that, it's like, okay, if this experience is really bad and I can't change the experience, how can I change the way that I think about it to make sure that I'm not endangering my mental health? So like, yes, this person broke up with me. It was really sad. Let me grieve and then move on with the expectation that life is going to get better. And I think a lot of people are scared to think of stuff that way. Like, Like, yes, you're going through tough times. Yes, your circumstances are awful. But at some point, it's going to change. Either you're going to move outside of that circumstance, or your mental state's going to change. And so I feel like that's a big thing that's kind of misunderstood. You know, like, you have a lot of power in how you think. Like, you're free to think how you want to think. Nobody tells you what to think. People might tell you what to do or where to go, especially people that, you know, are younger, but it's like they can't stop you from changing your mindset. So I think everybody has a different outlet for stuff that they go through. And for myself, like, Christianity is a big part of it. Reading, like, I personally like reading the Bible. I feel like it's a tool that is just full of stuff that helps you through life. I mean, there's books that talk about wisdom, there's books that talk about grieving, there's, you know, like, everything that you could ever ask for is in this one book. And so that's what I personally do. Before I was Christian and all that other stuff, a lot of outlets that I had were stuff like working out. That was kind of like a foundational thing. Working out and music. Working out it allowed me to express the stuff that I was feeling. So if I was feeling angry, I would lift the weights extremely angry. Or if I was sad, I would listen to sad music and work out and just be like, like a double whammy, you know, but like going through that process. So yeah, other outlets can just be stuff that you love, man. I mean, it's like there's no like one way to do something. There's no one way to figure stuff out. But you know, sometimes I used to go on long drives, or I'd sit in just like an empty parking lot where there wasn't distractions. I feel like if you can do something that doesn't distract you, in terms of like your job, like maybe you can't think all the way through at your job, or if you're going to school, or if you're taking care of a family, like you can't think about that stuff then. But when you remove those kind of distractions, then you can focus on it. Or on the other side, it's like maybe you do need to be distracted, and that distraction kind of gets your mind rolling in a different way. So like listening to music can be a distraction and even help you process that without even realizing it, you know, like relating to the song or the artist or that specific message that they have. So I actually had to talk to a lot of people about that, because of, I mean, the Marine Corps is probably the more suicidal organization in terms of the military. And I would always tell them, like, it's going to be all right. I mean, I know that's a cliche thing, but, you know, like when you take your emotions out of it and you take the circumstances out of it, at some point it ends, you know. For example, I lived in Japan for 2 years, well, Okinawa, Japan. So it's like 2 hours away from the main island. So it's a tiny place, and there's not a lot to do. At some point, you leave the island. Like, I knew I was going to be there for 2 years. And once I realized that, it's like, in 2 years, it's going to change. Or at that point, like, in a year, it's going to change. So I just have to hold on. Like, I have to do the things that are in front of me. And at some point, it'll change. At some point, it's going to stop. Or at some point, you know, something will replace that. And the people that I was working with, like, they were new to the military, so they didn't have a lot of, I guess, knowledge or life experience. But just telling them, like, for now, for the time being, who you are, like, this is just what you're going through. And just talk about it whenever you're upset. Don't let it get to you. Don't let it influence your choices. I feel like that was a big thing. And something I used to say was, don't let your circumstances change your character. Find ways for your character to change your circumstances. So, like, everybody has basic values that they believe and morals and ethics that they follow. And so it's like, if you let your depression, your anxiety, your desire to kill yourself, whatever it is, if you let that overstep your character, then you're going to lose every single time. You know, like, that's just how it works. Like, if you quit, then you quit. But if you dig into that character and the things that matter to you, and you use that to change that, like those circumstances or thought process, then I think it makes a big difference. I'm well. Quarantine was pretty easy for me. And I was actually telling someone this a couple weeks ago, like, quarantine was a breeze. You know, like, I was doing nothing for 3 months. I was just waiting for stuff to be over and doing what I can to stay healthy. And I think the reason why is because I was in Okinawa for 2 years. Like, that was a pretty long process that I went through. And coming through the other side of that, it's like, no matter what I face, I know that I can last 2 years before, like, it might get challenging. And so this entire first half of the year is like I'm just cruising, and like talking to people that haven't had those experiences. I actually did a mental health challenge a month or two ago, and it was like a Facebook post, and there was like 1,200 comments on it for people that were like interested in reaching out about their mental health or just talking about their experiences. And so that alone like got people talking. It got me talking to people, and just kind of sharing options, I guess, whether it's like mental health services, or you can watch a TED Talk, or whatever. But so that motivated me too, because it's like, stuff is always going to get hard, and so long as you stay strong in the way that you treat yourself, then it's all right. So yeah, pretty solid. The best way to help someone.
Yeah.
So I learned a long time ago that judgment is something that we as humans have naturally. I mean, you can talk about like ethnicity, you can talk about people's background, you can talk about their mental health, but in some way we judge the person in front of us. And if we do that right off the bat, or when somebody's trying to communicate to us, then we don't have the opportunity to really invest into that situation. So like, for example, if you're really upset about something, I can just walk up to you and be like, hey, suck it up, move on. Like, I could say that, and you'd probably be like, wow, well, that's a lost cause. Maybe that's the only person that I trusted enough to talk to. And so I feel like not judging people, and not having a bias or like a preemptive way to respond to something. Like if you lost someone that you loved, I could just be like, oh, I got through it, it'll be fine, like just grieve and then move on. But it's not that simple. So yeah, not judging people, offering to talk to them or just to listen to them. Listening is a big thing too. Just listening to everything that they have to say, and even the stuff they don't say, like what are they trying to tell you, or how do they feel. And so yeah, it's really simple. There's not a lot of science behind it. I mean, people talk to people, and that's it. So yeah, closing thoughts. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. In closing, I feel like there's so many different things that people can do to get help, and I feel like if people just overthink the stuff that they can do, like just pick something and try it out. Find someone that you trust, talk to them. If it doesn't work out, find something else. If working out at the gym helps you process your emotions, do that. If it doesn't, try something else. Like there's no one straight answer that's going to fit to who you are. And so spend time getting to know yourself. Spend time thinking about how you feel, your beliefs, or how current events influence you. Like, does it upset you? Does it bother you? If so, why does it bother you? Are there stigmas in your life that you don't even know about? Are there experiences in your life that you haven't thought about? And it's just, once you get to know yourself, then you can help other people. So just do that investment portion of, I need to figure out who I am so I can take care of myself, because the only person that knows you the best is you. For all the people out there that feel like they don't need help, I would just encourage them to seek help. I was actually talking to someone like 2 weeks ago. She was extremely depressed, and she was in just like these crazy circumstances. And I tried talking to her. Like, I tried giving her all these options. I told her my life story. I was just like, hey, I've been there. I've been through wanting to commit suicide. I've been through the depression. And she couldn't get past that part. Like, she couldn't get past some of her emotions. And so I was like, you know what? If you really need help, like, just get help. I was like, if you're in college and your school offers counseling and it's free, just take it up. Like, it's free, why not? Or, like, reach out to family members. And especially in those moments where it's like, I don't know if I can do this another day. Like, once it gets to that stage, just get help somewhere, any way you can, because your life matters. And, yeah, I think it's worth the investment for yourself to reach out and feel appreciated and validated. So yeah, my name is Matthew Vandersmit. I'm 26 years old, Marine Corps veteran. This is my story.